Welcome to Audiogyan with Kedar Nimkar, a podcast that documents insightful conversations with Indian designers, artists, musicians, writers, thinkers, and creatives of all types. Catch us on iTunes or visit audiogyan.com for more Gyan sessions. Here's your host, Kedar Nimkar.
Today I have Appupen with us on Audiogyan, loosely translated from a Malayalam as grandfather. Appu is noted graphic novelist and an artist from Bangalore. He's the creator of graphic novels The Snake and the Lotus, Moonward, Legends of Halahala, Aspyrus, and superhero satire series Rashtraman. His work is almost wordless narrative with sarcasm and irony. He's also the founder and editor of Brainded India, and today we are here to know his thoughts and ideas about art, comics, and more. So thank you, Appu, for giving your time, and it's a real pleasure to have you on Audiogyan.
Thank you for having me, Kedar. Lovely to be here.
Yeah,
Nice to meet you too.
same here. I've kept the topic name as Subtext under with comics in comics, and the conversation I mainly wanted to understand your thought process, your philosophy about comics in general. So the first thing which I want to ask you is, what does I know it's a cliche question, but I'm with the previous interaction, I'm very sure that it will be like a very different answer. So, what does art mean to you, and especially in the comic world or the comic arts space?
Good. I think it's slowly taken on as the meaning of my life here now. So I was always interested in the creative side of things. I didn't know how to get about it, and I didn't really know what art meant as such. Now I would think that we should have some substance, some message in our art as we do now. In order to make it today's art, just like perfect portrait paintings went away when photography came about. We don't do that anymore. Then lots of other styles of art opened up. I think now with the softwares that are available, it's very easy to produce something that looks good. So I think artists transcended that also. It's not something that just looks good. It has something to say also. And I've always been interested in putting thoughts out. Earlier, I started doing advertising in 2000 or so, straight out of college. We are putting messages in people's heads, but not necessarily messages that I want. And my name is not associated with it, thankfully. But, sometimes I might crack a good idea, and it might just become such a snowball into such a thing that maybe they'll destroy a forest or some housing area or something and create a big company in that space. I don't want to be responsible for something like that. So personal art, what we have to say, it's just about expressing what we want to put out. We observe things and we process them, and this is what we put out at the end of it. I like the art. I like to think of art in that way. But when you think of art nowadays, you start thinking of a gallery and some very stuck-up paintings on the wall. Our art is also very different. I like art to be a much more friendly space. I like it to be a lot more accessible. It cannot be in these ivory towers where you're afraid to go and make some noise because maybe it's not the right thing to do. And sometimes you don't understand the art. And then there's this write-up on the side which says it means everything. But when you see the art, nothing moves you. I don't think that is art either. It has to move you. When I go to the Biennale in Kochi or something, I see this whole big write-up. There's a lot of stuff. It means everything, the world and me and you and everything. But when I see it, it doesn't cause even a flutter of excitement in me. I don't think that is art also. I think we have to work at it. We don't have a definition. We do not want a definition for it. It's about finding that beauty, and it's in going wrong, and there's no set formula for it. You accidentally find it, or you can fine-tune many things to come to a point. From there, you need something more to get that. That is where art lies, in finding that which cannot be defined. So it has to be an adventure. It has to occupy my life. And I think it's a very vibrant scene. And many things that you're interested in can be expressed through art. For now, I choose painting and comic art as my way of like expressing things. I like comic art because it's irreverent, it's fun. It used to be cheap, but nowadays not so much. But that's why we liked them, you know. Like it was talking to us in a very different tone. Like it was not academic, and it's coming in. It's nice. Like a lot of people are looking at comics now. Not enough for us to like really make it a scene as yet. But I'm particularly fond of comic art and cartoons.
Sorry to
stuff.
interrupt there, because there are two nice threads which I wanted to ask on the same lines. Just the previous one which you mentioned about um, now these days tools are available where you can produce good quality stuff which probably is aesthetically better, right? At least from my exposure in the design world, Julie Zhu, who's the VP of Facebook, she has given like a nice career graph for designers. First 5 years or 3 years, you practice the craft, you understand the nuances of the craft, then you evangelize, and then you become like an industry leader where you speak to other people, you change industry trends, and so on and so forth, right? There's a map to it. Is there something similar when you pick up art? I'm asking you because when you said when you said you've mastered that tool, then what is the next progression? Or can someone start at the base level, just communicating the thought itself?
Hmm. Uh,
I mean, I don't know to illustrate. I don't know anything.
yeah.
I even don't understand what sort of color balance anything should have,
Got
and
it.
I just communicate something. Can someone start there itself?
I think so. See, because we have these preconceived ideas of art. If only I paint like that, it is art. Or if I only have my anatomy right, it's art. You know, all those things are broken with comics. And now you know that comic is in the art scene. And we have people making stuff with stick figures, with just like blobs for heads, anything. As long as you see, the point is we have an idea and we have to communicate it. What is the best way to communicate that idea? If it's a funny idea, I will set it in a funny background, or I have to add to the tone. When you see it only, you know what kind of a tone I am talking in and what tone you read in. So it's my job to create it. Nothing in this says that you have to be artistically qualified in some way. I can just put a spot and I can have some nice color around it. If it's saying something interesting, which it's enough if a spot says it. I just have to make two distinct points, like speak from two different sides. If I need more of a character, let's see what that character needs to act in this role that you have put for him. You know, so let's just look at that. Let's not look at it from like top down and say like only if it looks this way it is art or anything. And we've already broken it actually. You can see it in a lot of stuff, new stuff that has come out. It's like a splatter talking to like a shape, or you know, it's still working. But so you have to be smart in making that story that fits in this thing. So if I have a character which just serves me to tell the story effectively, that's fine. I can also elaborate it and make it in an oil painting style. Maybe the story requires that. Maybe I just want to show off my art, you know, whichever way. But I don't think anymore that art will be a hurdle for you to tell these kind of stories. At least not in the comic zone, which is why we like comics. Like you know, it's not the high art scene. It has to make sense. I can't like put a plaque next to it and say this comic means that. Then I've lost the comic. The comic has to speak for itself. So I think there is scope in that for you too. I think Kedar, you should go back to like drawing a few lines and like making them speak. Once you have the communication happening, it should work.
Okay, so it seems very ironic that when you speak about art, for whatever baggage we have, there's some sort of a eliteness to it, or as you mentioned, like art gallery mein hai. While when you say comics, it's much more democratic. So any other nuance there? Why is it so?
It was always seen as the cheap art. Comics came into being as like you know, these penny comics that would for working people, something that they could buy, read, and mostly throw away. Manga still works like that. They churn out a lot of stuff. Mostly, like you read it and you throw it away. It's a single consumption kind of thing. Overall, yeah, we now we say that comics has a bad name also here because it's considered bad for children. If you're reading comics, then you're not studying, kind of thing. But it's all changing now. Now you have a lot of information being transferred through comics. Like if there's a tough to explain situation, I'm doing it even for like science and physics problems that I don't understand really. But sometimes people want that simplified through graphics. So, it's much more easier and broken down to understand. Once I understand it, then I can make it into graphics. But like, I've come to that point where, it's a little tough for me also. But once you break it down, anybody should be able to get it. So to break down information, whether it's commercial stuff or for education, it's working a lot now. Simple example is when you buy any kind of gadget, there'll be drawn instructions how to put it together.
Correct.
So, gets through. That is also visual language comics. So through comics, we want to, it's actually a language. It's a visual language, and maybe our vocabulary in that visual language is not so good because we've been told comics are bad or something like that. But it's moving now. Everything is visual. Like you're playing on your phone all the time. Everything is visual over there. Like even my dad can identify the change of color in one little icon of the many icons on his phone. So your visual reading has improved so much. Earlier it was just one picture for him. So now he identifies the differences between them. He can say that this color has changed, that is different thing, and then he'll click on it. So you are working with the visual interface through your life now. So I think it's going to be a nice scene for comics. Okay. Like more and more people will be friendly about reading comics now.
Yeah. So on that note, in fact, can you briefly share the kind of books you have written and like what are the reasons for it? Because I want to navigate the conversation, the second half, mainly towards the characters you have built and the thought process, but just to set context as to yeah.
It's difficult for me to speak briefly, but I will try. I wanted to tell stories. That's the main idea. I'm not particularly like it can only be through comics, but important thing is the stories have to be told. For me, when I did some animation, I tried some film and everything, and I figured out that if I have to tell my kind of stories, I need to probably use all the resources that I have with me, which pretty much meant my time and my drawing. So I started making storyboards first, and then I went into comics, just so that, I can put down the stories like I want to tell them. From there, I generally judged it and thought, okay, comics is good. And also, maybe I'm just thinking about all this myself. Maybe nobody wants to read my stories. I want to make them and all, but we also have to see if anybody wants to read them. So let's try that out in comics with our own resources, so to say. So I started making comics and putting them up online. Website at the time, 2006. My own website, and we have to email people to come and see it there because there's no social media thing happening. So and because our circles are so small, because literature and comics and all are shared among such like a small number of people, I got through to these publishers in Chennai called Bluffed. So Bluffed was serious about publishing what I had put up online. I wanted to make a lot more to complete that thing because in my head it's a world. So what I have in the beginning is Moonward, the first book, 2009 it came out. It's the setting of that world. It's a world called Halahala. It's a dimension. It's not a world with a set map, a mountain range and a dragon there. No. The whole world changes to suit the story I'm telling you. So this world can look in different ways. Like we said earlier, if it's a funny story, the drawing is cartoony. If it's a serious story with like a proper meaningful message in it, then I want to get that trust from you from the beginning. Like you shouldn't think of me as a comic when I'm trying to make a serious point. So I will work the background like that. So the world becomes the background in which this takes place. This is the interesting part of the fantasy world for me. That is how the new fantasy world changes. We've got all kinds of fantasy world. Pixies are there, fairies are there, all kinds of stuff. I'm not interested in that fantasy world, but I want a world where things are set. So Moonward opened it up. Then Legends of Halahala had 5 short stories, fully silent. So by the time I'm quite confident, my first publishers bluffed. They gave me the confidence to not say everything. They convinced me that it's getting through in the drawing. You don't have to over explain it. So they helped me cut down a lot of text.
Wow.
And that gave me the thing that, okay, we can work without the text itself. I concentrated a lot on expressions to convey. It's a very popular cartoon technique, like
Yeah.
Disney and all, like, extra exaggerated expressions, like we do in theater. Exaggerated movements. That's what works in comics also. You convey through that exaggeration. So 5 short stories, kind of halahala type love stories, like not the kind of love stories you expect, but without words. So we went through 5 different settings of that world. So it moved from, like, some little worms, creatures talking, to like kingdoms having battles between each other, all kinds of stuff. After that, I made Aspyrus. I think it was a reaction to my advertising years. It was a story that was playing in my head a lot. Like we said in the beginning, like, who puts that dream in your head is the question. Like, we all like to say that, hey, it's my dream job, or we're following the dream. That really, who put that dream in your head? Like, did you really, like, originally think that you will have a holiday in Bali? Like, really? Like, is that your original idea? Things like that. So who put the idea became very interesting for me, because I'm from that advertising world where we were putting ideas consciously in people's heads. Like, if you're not seen with my product, then you won't get laid ever. Like, we're feeding on insecurities, right? And I don't want to, like, use my art for that. That's where the conflict came. If I have a skill and if I want to make it better and I want to pursue it, I'm not going to use it to, like, mess with people's heads. I can open people's ideas about things, about how advertising uses their insecurities, maybe, but to use that again, to just manipulate thought and, like, get something through, I just don't think it's fair. Of course, I have to do some of that to get money, but I try to, like, do it in a premium way, where only, like, the richest people, like, get, like, influenced by it or something, and I can charge more also. So that question remains. I want to deal with it in a sensible way, even, like, if the comics ever make money, like, which is a very thin possibility now. But we have to see. We have to be sensitive to the art side, I think. We've chosen art, not business, not the profit motive. So I would like to stick in that. Then I had, then I worked for a long time for Snake and the Lotus. That was the last book from a big publisher. Then I published 2 small books independently. We'll get into that next.
Yeah. So your work, which I have seen at least, or I could understand or comprehend, and now that you have made it so open that whatever I'm not with that baggage of really understanding, but just enjoying it. So like, wants to strongly communicate a message, right? So if I can say that, your work, I could understand, has a lot of despair in it, or has a lot of sarcasm, or say irony. So if I'm looking, like, as a layman to it. So be titles like Dystopian Times, or Halahala, which is like a poison, right? So Aspyrus, Brainded, and so on. So also the kind of colors which I've used are, for my taste, it looks very grungy. It's dark. So and not just that, with characters like Rashtraman or Propogandhi also. So there's a slapstick pun or whatever. There's some humor to it as well. So what's going on there? I mean, I want to just understand that how would you respond to all these narratives which you have built so far?
After my first book, Moonward, a lot of my friends were really concerned that I'm going to kill myself or something.
Yeah, it seems
because
like.
it was very dark and But the idea is, if you really think about it, if you want to kill yourself, it's easier to kill yourself. You don't have to work on a book for 3 years before you kill yourself. I think it comes from a place of hope. And if we work on something, anybody who dedicates their effort, their time to refining something, I think it essentially comes from like general hope in mankind or something, what we're trying to say also, if you take Orwell and Huxley, who are like my pillars of like thinking in the dystopian world. Dystopia is just a lovely word. I just love it so much. It is very educative, actually. What I want to do is, what I think we should all do is wake up people from this dream that the Aspyrus is created or the advertising world is created. This there is this sort of sugary dream that is spread over everything, which does not make you concerned about anything. If you read Huxley, his method of controlling is not the Orwellian way of like extra control, extra surveillance. His is not that. Huxley's is excess entertainment, drugs, sex, all excess for you. So you don't have to think about anything. You're just tripping and happy all the time. It takes you away from like questioning things. Finally, both of them like don't allow you to question anything. But there are essays and people suggesting that Huxley's model is much more closer to what we have in the world today. Even though like we always say it as a Orwellian state or Orwell's dilemma and all that, Huxley is much more closer to what we have now. With the excess consumption that we have, the services that we have, all aimed at making us sit in a place and just be happy. There's more than enough entertainment for you, and the same kind of entertainment which does not like question you. Which brings me to comics. Like, once you start most people get into comics through superheroes. Superhero has the same story. He'll never die. Every time, somehow or the other, he'll win and come back. Now you can be like jingoistic about him and be like all hero worship and all that for some time. But if you're the kind of person who stays hero worshipping the superhero all your life, then okay, that's your choice. But there are many people who think there should be a different story. That is where our kind of comics come in. It's not really, I don't like a superhero for that. But I guess we go to that later, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what was I saying?
So these dark things or dystopian views.
See, we have to break that Bollywood bubblegum feel. People think that is the idea of the world, or and so therefore the propaganda or the amount of stuff that is gone into making people think in particular, all these things, it's difficult to convey to people. It's difficult to tell people that this is how the world is working. This is how you are being used, and to make people aware of things. Somehow I need to get to that inner thinking of theirs, the inner child. But the world today is in such a way that you have to numb the inner child to face the world only. You can't expose him to the outside world. You have to protect him. You have to protect him to get through your daily life. So you already kept him very locked. And art and all is only talking through like sensitive points. We are not coming and like with a baton saying like, this is how you have to behave. That is the other side. We believe in art because art gives you a choice. Art gives you some piece of thing. You can like it or hate it, but you make a choice. So if you get that onus, it means that you have the intelligence to choose. It's like democracy. So as long as you get the idea to choose, art is there, it's good. The other method is you don't have a choice. That is not art. That is authoritarianism or dictatorships that we might be edging very close to. So this is also the problem of such a controlling atmosphere. What is our purpose? Our purpose, for me, I want to explore art. I want to go to like new places where other artists probably have not been, and like make something and add it to the body of art which I like revere so much. But I'm not allowed to go there. I'm sitting here and saying beef is okay or not okay. Like that's not my concern right now. Like we are going back in time. We're not being able to go ahead. Same way with people who are doing research and like development in all kinds of fields. We have to go ahead. We can't like go back and like say, you know, we are stuck there and therefore we cannot go ahead. Maybe my whole life I'll be trying to like say some obvious truths to people. You know, that's very, it's killing the art. You know, it's as it is, it's kind of difficult to like be an artist and survive as an artist. But somewhere we need the audience also to like be sensitive to such things. You know, artists always like train and they learn a lot of things, they practice their skill, and they throw all that at like people who have had no training or no practice or no interest also in it, right? So we're trying to catch them with humor and beauty. We throw that thing at them. If they laugh along with us, then maybe we have a foot in the door. It's not about arguing, or I don't think art is going to save the world. Nothing like that. That is a fairy tale. We have to be very real. Art is only doing art's job. Now, when we do some comics, they say it's activism. No, it's not. It's basic cartooning that people were doing for like hundreds of years. Now you put it there and you say it's activism. It's probably because like nobody is doing cartooning. You know, it's basic cartooning. It's going for protest is like a basic thing. You go for a protest once and you feel like you're an activist. No, an activist is very different from you. You know, so these kind of things we have to like open up to people slowly. And so therefore I think we need to come to a very real ground to start talking about these things. So the dystopia and the totalitarian setting, all these things, like I really like dystopian novels like Orwell and Huxley, what we talked about earlier. What it is trying to do is warn you. It's trying to show you a situation that may or may not come, but the dangers are there. And you have to probably realize at some point that the trend is turning that way. So this is why the dystopian times, it's a popular comic thing. Like, you know, it's a nice angle. My world earlier on, there's a lot of ecological destruction. There is a lot of usage of resources for profit motive. See, what is profit motive? Like greed becomes okay with profit motive, and we say like capitalism's best way and all that, and so all that is okayed immediately. You know, like however much you can use, you use. That's the way. Like, you know, if your product is not selling, then your product may not be good. Free market. So you know, like we've covered up all these things in such a comfy way that I won't feel the guilt personally of partaking in a product which has killed off a whole village or like many animals or a forest or something like that. That guilt is not individually mine. Even the same for the company who's making it. You know, that CEO will say like, I did it for the shareholders. Shareholders are happy. They didn't do it directly. Nobody did it directly. So we've broken it down in such a way that the guilt goes away. By the time we reach there, we need to change that. We need to tell people that no, this is how it happens. So to get to like a real place to open these things, we need to like, you know, for me it is a dark world. It is really dark, even however much we color it and all that. And see, don't get me wrong, I'm not like sitting in my home and like moping or anything. I have fun. I have like I really enjoy my time. I have so much art and comics and movies and music. I enjoy all these things, and I think I enjoy my own company a little more than I should, but that helps my work. I have to sit alone and like work a lot, like as in like, you know, a page takes a day. So, you know, so yeah.
So one of the, I don't know, because I'm just like, it's just I'm become numb by listening to this.
Oh no, that was not the intention.
No, but it's
we are trying to fight the numbness.
It's very, very enriching experience to hear like a different perspective, because I wouldn't say myself to be like a authoritarian inclined person. Neither am I completely democratic, because there's some lot of baggage in my upbringing, in my thought process, right? But the one thing which has inspired me in my past is one famous Marathi comic. He said that to do or to show that something is bad, or something is not healthy enough for you as a society or as a community, the best way is to do the right thing the right way, right? Now here, how would you reconcile this thought? Because I strongly believe in that. And you're saying that to show dystopia, you are actually showing what is there out instead of showing the ideal world. So I know it's a very thin line, and I need to articulate this much better, but maybe you must have got the thought which I want to say.
See, it's not like we represent what we're seeing.
So sorry to interrupt. I just articulated it further. Long time ago, I wanted to make like a short series films. Instead, in fact we had started this project called as Movie Mala, where we used to just screen short films. And one of the projects was that I wanted filmmakers to make short films on social awareness.
Yeah.
And for that, I made a small video which said it was like a cut from National Geographic, where all the monkeys, if one monkey goes away, everyone just follows that guy. And the title was "Monkeys Are Back." And to show this side, there was like a small area where people were spitting in the city, and within no time, it wasn't a official garbage area, but people just started dumping there.
Yeah.
Now I showed this entire in this film and then said, "Monkeys are back. Now you send your films." Now a lot of people critiqued me, saying that you want people not to spit, then why are you showing spitting on the screen? So you got what I'm saying? Like,
no, I think that's fine. Like, we have to address it. Like,
how else would you?
Yeah, it's when I see that pan stain in the corner of the staircase that I think of, like, people shouldn't spit like this. No, I have to show that. Like, I think there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I don't think you should take that criticism very seriously. See, let's see what will be effective. Sure, there are different ways to, like, do it. And there are many comic artists doing in many different ways. This happens to be my style. And it's based on whatever things that we talked about earlier and all that. I'm saying there is enough light entertainment out there. If I want that, there's no problem. I can get it wherever, like just snap of a finger, it's there. And it's non-stop now. Like, I don't watch all the Netflix and all these things. I don't have all these things. But I understand how it works. And you can, like, suddenly this term binge watching has become a thing. So we are in a world where those are the things taking up your time. And if I have to, like, move your, like, it's like all these things, products and these TV serials and all these things are throwing ropes at your mind for your attention, and all the, when we do advertising, that's what we do. We're trying to, like, get your mind to, like, look this way, look that way, Into this, we have to, like, talk about, like, serious issues. It's very difficult.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, because, the other message is so much easier. So if we have to, like, talk about such things, then we have to probably shock them out of that reality a little bit. I'm not going to get them out of that space by showing, like, bubblegummy nice pictures and then suddenly, like, change it again. That'll be cheating. Let's present the idea like this. And I think there's a lot of there is a lot of interest in that kind of scene now. Like, if you'll see, a lot of mainstream movies have started becoming very dark. And dark humor is not a bad thing. It's like, I've always, like, enjoyed that dark humor part of it, because it is much more closer to the seriousness than when I'm just, in that other zone, like, cracking just jokes, which doesn't mean anything. It becomes dark because it ties up with something you have done or you are close to or something. That's what makes it dark for you, right? So, in the...
Yeah, I think George Carlin is one of the important
figures.
Yeah, it's just like,
really. Yeah, that was nice stuff to read here when I was, like, forming these opinions. And also that's why it's important for us to, like, put out our view as it is, because a lot of people may be thinking like that. Once we put out something, they're like, okay, some people are thinking like that. This is what happened with Rastraman also. Like, when I came out with Rashtraman, it was like little, like, are you sure you want to put it out types? But now it's not like that at all. Like, we have so many people making comics that are critiquing what's going on, which is fine.
In fact, speaking about Rashtraman, that was my next question.
Okay.
In one of your interviews, I was just reading, you don't seem to like the idea of superhero, which you also mentioned just now, or gods or godmen-like characters. So ironically, Rashtraman seems to be like a superhero, right?
Yes.
So again, what's your response to that? Who's
Correct.
Rashtraman, and like what sort
This,
of narrative you're building there?
I think this goes back to what you were questioning earlier. Like, how can we show something that we are trying to fight?
Correct.
This is exactly that. I will not be able to do a serious superhero who cons you in tights and tells you that this is the hero giri to do and all that. I'm generally aware of the superhero idea because we have this tendency to worship any kind of hero. It might be some stupid superstar, film star also. Like half our population will go and worship that guy. Some politician dies, 5-6 people will kill themselves. This is like the level of our emotional tune. We play at that level. The violin is always high. So Ambedkar had in a speech before the Constitution, he had said that we should be careful about giving too much power and stature to one person, because as a country, as a people, we have this major thing for bhakti. Like, we want to worship somebody. If 10 people tell us that he's God, we want to believe that he's God. So there is that kind of a thinking among the people. And if you see our culture, it's very strong in it. We cannot live without our God or without our superhero or things like that. I think for objective critical thinking to take on, we need to demystify these things a little bit. We can't have sensible conversations while somebody is being treated like God. And very smart people are also considering people as God men and validating their status. I like to think that there might be some personal benefit that they're getting from it or something like that. The idea here is, you take Superman or Batman or Captain America or something. I was a Batman man. Are you a Batman man or are you a Superman man?
I remember He-Man. That's it.
He-Man, yes, I was a He-Man man too.
Yeah.
I was totally into these things. Okay, so Batman I took more seriously because he seemed to have that dark edge, which you spotted in me.
Correct.
And he's doing all these things really cool. I'm following the work and all that. Then I start thinking about Bruce Wayne. No, Wayne Enterprises, doing all kinds of things, stock trading and all kinds of things that go with it, all kinds of speculation things. Then slowly in the comic only, I'm reading that he's doing arms trading. He's sending arms to making nuclear things and keeping it under his own city all the time. What's going on there? So when I think about it, this does the job of okaying many things for the kids who are already bought into the idea of Batman as a hero. He's my god. Whatever he says, I will buy. Captain America is my god. If he says Vietnam War was cool and he went and took part in it, then all the stain of Vietnam War is washed off for me. In fact, I will go and join the army. When Mallu superstar Mohanlal did 3 army movies, he got some lieutenant colonel something title. You look at him, it's a funny title for him. And also during that time, Kerala, one of the years, Kerala had the very high recruitment into the army. What does this say? So the hero thing has many sides to it, and we are totally depending on that one person to play it right. He can be whatever asshole, and you will still consider him hero, or you will maintain him as hero. And everybody needs their own kind of hero. A guy who drinks cow urine from the back of the cow's ass is not my kind of hero, but he may be appealing to a lot of people. And we have a lot of people. And to appeal to those people is a really dicey thing to do, which is why you need advertising people from Bombay who do ads for any
select target group.
Yeah, the larger ads, the ads that the whole country dances to types, in the rural thing, some kid is running with the bottle of Coca-Cola, then in the town taka 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 somebody's playing that same bottle. These kind of things that tie up this vastness, they cut through to every corner of the country. So now this is an advertising specialty, that you can make something that will cut through to everybody. These stars have their values, this guy is good in rural. these guys only work in urban markets. But somebody who cuts through urban and rural, like a Dhoni, is like, he's like
He's a hero.
yeah. So we play with our heroes a lot, which is why all these statistics have come about. Now, I want to make fun of the hero. I got this thing from Mad Magazine. I was a Rambo fan, and I used to like tie this red bandana on my head and run around my like compound in Kerala. Then I read the mad spoof of Rambo. No more red bandana. they just took the pants off him. So like that satire worked so much for me to put that elevated, larger than life figure back in its place. That got me. If I can use that satire and deflate these bubbles, then that has power. So Rashtraman is a superhero satire set in a political setting. He stands for everything that you don't like about the hero, and you laugh with me when he is like making these atrocious statements, or like behaving like he owns the planet. Like he is like that, and he's very proud of it. Always you've been anti-nationalistic, free speech, all these issues, and I was able to play with it almost like a chronological follow-up of like what's happening in the politics also, because if I'm doing political cartoons, I want to be careful about it. Our politicians are very smart. They know when they want to create an issue or a trend
Dystopia.
or a story, So some idiot minister will say something stupid. So you can be sure that next day all the comic artists, cartoonists, all are going to like crack jokes on that. Think about it. Like it's between the cartoonists, it's a race like who will do that best joke fastest. Some people say that guy copied from me. All this is happening in the comic world. So somebody has put this story out. Everybody's on to this thing. You might be missing the more important or more sensitive thing on the side. TV channels are covering this minister, like, his daughter-in-law is saying something, like it's gone all over the place. What he said actually doesn't matter at all. It is bullshit, like, that it's like, it doesn't mean anything, but it's just a hoo-ha. And sometimes these things are very crucial also. It does the job of planting a seed in people's minds. Like they will get one minister to tie up certain issues they are targeting together. It's very deviously done, very, very, very smartly done. Sometimes I think I never gave so much credit to the politicians to be like so like cunningly manipulative. And I think maybe it's my imagination also, but I see sometimes it happens. So yeah, we need to like bust the bubble. We need to like make Rastraman do all these things. So if you laugh with me on Rastraman, then you think that is quite hideous or it's funny.
Trivial, yeah.
It's funny in some way. Okay, then maybe you will think about it. Maybe you think more about it, and then maybe you will form your or it might influence your opinions on things. That's the best we can hope for.
But I don't know, maybe I'm tripping right now because of your because of your thoughts here, that to remove a particular seed and implant a new, what makes you feel that the new implant is more open and democratic and liberal?
What new implant?
The Rashtraman doing something, and his act or his story, which is in that particular strip, is also implanting an idea, right? Finally, isn't it? Because then you laugh, that means the seed is also getting sown there.
It depends on the story. Like I'll tell you, like
no. So I'll give you an example. Like the minister saying something, and then people buying into it, has got one narrative, and you saying, say probably through satire or something else, which is contradicting the minister's thought, is also implanting that idea, right? So what makes you think that this idea is much more depth than the other?
No, we're just exposing the other idea. That's all.
Okay.
This is not a totally new idea. It's not a new way of propaganda or anything. It's just exposing that as propaganda, or like showing that This is just hate spreading. This, if you believe in this, it might be highly possible that you are extremely insensitive to another human being next to you. You telling you these things so that you might think, oh, okay, yeah, really, you're actually talking about my friends who can get affected with this thing, and I am still not doing anything.
Beautiful. Cool. Yeah, and then what's with the Propogandhi? I would like to understand that as well.
Again, we are in that part of Halahala, that is Rashtriya, the country. I've had real fun freaking out on all these things because in my other comic world, I want to explore thought. So Halahala is also visualized as a mind space. So if I can imagine a story in the mind, so the background is the mind space and a thought is a character, then I have a whole new area to play with. That mind space, like many things can happen. It's my mind space. It could be dark. It's your mind space. It could be bright and happy. I'm not sure. But possibilities are there. With chance of cloudy with chance of whatever you want. But when I take it into that world, there are many things. Like, okay, now I am a fan of superhero stuff. I've followed a lot, but I don't believe in that ideology of how you push the superhero. But there is a lot more to learn about the world building. There will be a superhero, there will be a few sidekicks, there will be that world, there will be like villains. That creating that is very interesting. Especially when you have a superhero, not a conventional superhero. You have a superhero who you like to hate. So sometimes maybe the villain is who you like to like. So we have to play it like that. And Cowboy is my sidekick. He's half man, half god. So I just couldn't resist like that cow thing, and it also gives that Hanuman kind of like one vibe because he's got a tail and he's got this mace and everything, and he's actually a good guy. Like he has been put into this thing because he's like half god, and they're like, oh, you have to be like this and everything. But he's always a sidekick to Rashtraman, and he doesn't always approve of Rashtraman's thing, but he likes the popularity. He wants to be more popular than Rashtraman. He wants to know when he'll be the main guy and not a sidekick anymore. That's his personal trip. And so he's also running. Rashtraman is telling him he's doing things also, but maybe on the side he's doing a little more. That is the cowboy story. Then I was thinking we're playing with, it's not a political thing alone. I mean, political means not just a political party anymore. There has to be politics, there has to be religion, there has to be commercial, there has to be media. Everything has to come together for this, the fear of fascism to come together. And we see that business, corporate interests are a big part of it. No party can just do it, or no corporate fellow can just do it. But together, when you put them together, there's a lot more that can happen. Same way, media also hops on board. So we have religion, corporate, state, and then media. Media was actually I'd come into media in Rashtraman's first season, which I think I ran on News Laundry and all that. There was a villain who was actually making holes in Rashtraman's propaganda. He was a media guy who was finding all the fake news that Rashtraman is spreading. So he was known as Propogandhi. Because he's bad guy for Rashtraman at that time. So he was dubbed Propogandhi, and he was he was defeated and all. Then a couple of years later, Propogandhi saw the light, and he joined the right side. And there they rechristened him as Propagandhi. Now everything he says is the word of God types. You don't question Propagandhi. And he's master. In my book, he arranged a whole cricket match to just so that Rashtraman can jump into Paradesh, the next country. Yeah. So things are happening.
Quite interesting. I think, just given the time span people have these days, I have last two questions. I would like to know about Brainded India. What are you doing with it, and what's the story behind?
Brainded is actually an idea from a few international friends from Greenpeace time that I had. So we used to have a bunch of artists who would make and send artwork for any campaign or issue that people were fighting in any part of the world, because sometimes you reach there and you don't have any poster or any artwork and all, so you don't have money to hire also. So we were a group of artists working through Greenpeace networks for many kind of issues, because we're freelancing other things. Sometimes you get paid, sometimes you won't get paid, but it's a commitment you make. Like if there's an issue, sometimes very short deadlines, so you have to like immediately say, okay, yeah, I'll do it or I won't do it, and then somebody else will do it. I like this way of like artists doing stuff and putting it out. I did a logo for Bhopal gas tragedy thing in 2003. It was the 20th anniversary of the gas tragedy, 2004, 3.
I don't remember.
Yeah, 3, I think. So that got carried across a lot, and I thought that was a nice way to make sense with my art. It's felt positive. It was not going to like strip people of money and like create some image that is not there. This was about an issue. It was very straightforward, and the image was strong. It was reminding people of that particular cause, which is what we want. It's like a logo. After that, I started looking more seriously at like doing work like that, and only very lately, like 2015, I started Brainded in India. Brainded works as a loose collective internationally, but Brainded India I wanted to like put together because I was meeting these people and telling them what I'm seeing in our art scene here. We don't have any satire, spoofing. Making fun is always seen as a bad thing, you know, like generally as a humorist, as a cartoonist, I don't come from that background. Even when you read like Shakespeare and all, you know that the court jester had the same privilege as the king. He could even make fun of the king. And it's a very smart way of the proletariat telling the king what they're thinking. You know, it's done through the joke of the jester, but only he has the thing to get through. So humor in many cultures, if you see, it has very important role, and all intelligent setups will respect humor.
In fact, in our tradition, like in Indian tradition also, we had this Vidushak.
Yeah, the proper Indian tradition you talk about, like, you know, all this knowledge is there, and we are only like, you know, borrowing from that. I'm a big fan of the Indian mythologies. I've read whatever I could of it, you know, and I think like the biggest tribute I can do to it is try to make a new mythology with Halahala. You know, Halahala is the name of the poison, you're right, but that's all. No more connection to. I've just taken it as a name. Like, you know, it doesn't mean the poison, but it's that dimension. It's that whole side of things where maybe things are a little more darker, or let's say you view it through a film of that poison, if you want to say, you know. But that's the Halahala world. I was feeling that there are a lot of artists making stuff, but we cannot like get our stuff published in any mainstream. It's very difficult, like, you know, like
especially in the current political scene. It's difficult.
I mean, even if it's not political, I'm not saying political, like whatever kind of art you do, like I've had to work many years before I found it easy to get my stuff printed in magazines and get paid for it. So getting paid is another deal altogether, but at least if I can provide a platform where art that I can curate with a few friends, like, you know, we collect and we look at it, and we sort of edit the work. If we have a platform where we can promote the kind of stuff we think is cool, we think is meaningful, then I can support the art scene that way. At least a platform is there. So when we started, I couldn't really talk about it because there aren't many people following it. Platform, that is what I can give, like visibility from that platform. So the platform had to grow over like 2.5, 3 years. Like we became fairly like having a crowd type of thing. Rastraman was launched there. Dystopian Times was launched there. This is Brainded India I'm talking about. Then there are many artists that I really like, some that I look up to, some who are doing great work, but they don't know how to put it out. Like even I am not the best at like marketing the work or putting it out. There are artists much better than me at doing that. But if I can help those guys who have really good work and just put it on a platform, showcase it, lead it to them. There's no money involved. It's all, and every problem is like people are not reading, and everybody is on this social media thing. So if we want to convey something, we have to get to where everybody is. I have many messages very seriously thought out in all the published books that I have, but who's buying it and who's really reading it? I can't even sell it. Like, there aren't even shops left anymore where I can really sell it. Only 2-3 shops or something. So it might stay on the shelf. Like, my idea is not getting through. If I need to like talk about things that people have to get through immediately, then let's go to social media. I just have to give it for free. It's not like I'm making so much money from publishing those books. Whoever has made money are the publishers only, if at all. But so like I can get through to my crowd, which is much more closer. I have sort of like a rapport with them. I know they are following my work or Brainded work. So it makes sense as a community to like expose them, and then also blow up their idea of what art can be, what comics can be, what animation can be. I've been like exploring because I need to know before I put my voice out. I need to know what has been done in the field. I can't repeat something like that. I have to build on top of that if I can. My goal is that. I don't know if I'll get there. But I have to add to this body of work that many people have created, which also means we respect all those people and the time they put into it. We are not stupid enough to think that like one fine morning I just come and like I can piss on top of that body of work and just go away. No. We have to work hard for a long time. Like we said earlier, like, dedicated work over many years. It has a difference. The work shows. You know that this is like dedicated work when you see it only. That's how everybody used to be earlier. My Kathakali master, my singing teacher, only that they do that all their life.
Correct.
Now we don't have such people. We have like people who are like traversing different things. Like, Appupen, comic creator and drummer. Like, what the But like, yeah. So right now Brainded is working nicely as a platform for us where we can feature a lot of people's artwork, and I hope that all these people will continue doing this stuff. That's what I'm interested in, because their thoughts will also evolve. Maybe they're talking about one thing today. They will definitely like find different issues to talk about, different ways to talk about. That's how our scene is going to get diverse. That's how we encourage more like creators. Somewhere down the line, I hope like we can make some money of it and pay these artists also, or they will get popular enough to find those channels themselves.
Correct.
That's fine.
Yeah.
As long as it's at least putting it out for people. A lot of people are getting very into about the likes and views. That itself is feed. So now you see how starved the artist was. Just a virtual like is like, yes, I can go on now. So we need to provide these kind of things where like that life is there for them. Like, we can't promise money, but we can at least promise.
Yeah. and at the very best, actually, from my perspective, it's great to archive. You're just like creating a log.
Perfect.
For any artist to come back after 5 years and reflect back on his or her work.
So we're going to have this interview 5 years later again?
Maybe, yeah. Cool. Yeah, one last.
Sure.
It's been like really awesome talking to you, but yeah.
Hey, nice.
So does comic as an art form give you hope, and how? Just like a concluding thought.
Not maybe, I mean, I can't say comics exclusively as an art form. I think art gives me hope. Like we said earlier, art presupposes that you have the ability to take a call. The decision is yours. You make the choice. The art is just a suggestion. You like it or not, you agree or not, you make the choice. As long as you are given the choice, you are treated as somebody who has the ability to make that choice. You are treated as an intelligent person. There, I feel hope. When you are being told things to do, then you're being treated as somebody who cannot think on their own. That's the difference for me. I would always prefer the art route, as long as we can. And also, like, it's great, it's creative, it's fun, it's not formal, and I don't have to sit in an office and, I just like, I think by now, like, I'm been at it for a while, like, I'll be stupid to continue if I'm not enjoying it. That's the whole point, like, and one more thing about it, like, when I say enjoy it, I don't mean like I'm not a party person, or I don't go out at all. I sit at home only, and all these thinking and researching and how, like, practicing things, it takes up a lot of time. And if you have to, I mean, you do it only if you enjoy it, because it may not give you anything back. We have to get our juice from enjoying the task. If we think that, later fame is going to come or something, that's why we're doing it, we may be let down.
Yeah.
We may be in for a shock.
Yeah.
So, let's enjoy what we're doing. And I think that's why I like it also. Like, we're there every day. I crack a great idea. I mean, great for me. It may not be like great for you or anybody else. But if I think that I pushed my level a little bit, I crack something new, I put down like a great drawing, it gives me enough, like, satisfaction to go to bed happy.
Yeah.
So I think, see, it's also, we have to slow down, like, we're going too fast.
Yeah,
all this, what we're talking about will not happen at this pace. And everybody is being brought up with the same dream to, like, consume everything, and bigger car, bigger house is the only dream that is being sold. So, it can only head in one way. Our job as artists, as comic creators and all that, is create multiple dreams, different ways. Like, that's not the only happiness. The happiness is everywhere, and like, it's in nature, it's everywhere. Like, you can't say that that's the only brand of happiness that you aspire to get. That's where the problem is.
Or simply make it slow as well. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to record another episode in the same studio, and the guest called me saying that, hey, I want to understand why are you doing this as well, and your thoughts are not, like, documented, so maybe I'll ask one or two questions, and I think I'm just going to say what you said just now. I'm getting juice out of doing it.
It's universal. No, we have to, like, make sense of it. No, later when we look back, we should feel like at least we didn't do something wrong. So yeah,
cool.
Hopefully it's positive. Hopefully, like, more people will enjoy it, and I'll get better with the work. That's the joy of continuing in a scene, like you said, in one field also. So yeah, comics just happens to be the thing, but art in general, I'm hopeful about.
Yeah. In fact, on that note, I remember one brilliant answer somebody gave me. I said, "What's happening?" And he said, "Same old thing, just better."
Yeah.
It's a beautiful way to.
Hopefully, no?
Yeah.
Huh? Like, if we can make it better, then because it's going to be pretty much same old thing. We're not going to drastically, like, improve on that. It's slightly better we can hope for. It's good enough.
Sure. Cool. On that note, I think we'll end this. It was really, really wonderful talking to you.
Thank you, Kedar. Thanks
Thoda
a lot.
sa to mind expand hua hai, hopefully.
Hey,
Mera.
Thanks for having me. It's lovely. Like, nice to come here and talk to you.
Same here. Thanks.
And that's it from today's Gyan session. Catch us on iTunes, Savan, Stitcher, or any podcasting app you use. Do rate us on iTunes and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Stay tuned for more Gyan on audiogyan.com. Till then, bye.